We're just starting now?
Yes.
What about all those great lines I just had? Joe.
You know I'm right. Nick Durst here with Joe Calabrese, and our guest's getting the first word in here with us. Joe, I'm really excited about the awesome guests we have here today.
Yeah. Over the course of the next hour or so, we're going to have a lot of fun. To be honest, I feel like...
How do you know?
I don't think he really needs an introduction.
You know what? That's like Chris Russo nonsense. Oh, we're gonna have a great show for you. You have no idea what kind of show you're gonna have. None.
Do you notice that every single high heat, the Mad Dog starts off by saying lots to do on a busy whatever day it is, no matter the time of year. Joe,
I remember one of my favorite Russos is he had Fred Kerber, who has since retired from the Post, used to work at the Daily News as well, covering basketball. And Fred took time out from his busy day to appear on his WFAN show. And at the end, rather than thanking Fred for taking time out from his busy day, he said over the air, "Oh, we got to get better guests than Fred Kerber." What a jerk.
Yeah, I mean, he always has. I mean, one of my favorite things he does is like when he talks about a player, he'll give two pros and one like weird thing. So like Ted Williams, great hitter, war veteran, frozen head though, weird thing. So he always says something.
Or he'd say, Ernie Banks, no ring.
Yes.
No ring. He was one of the greatest players in history. No ring. How many rings do you have, Chris?
Exactly. But Joe, why don't you introduce our guest, who's been great so far here for us?
Long-time New York Post columnist and very outspoken Mr. Phil Mushnick. Thank you for coming on with us today.
Skip it.
That is your official introduction. Usually we give a really formal introduction, but that went out the window, and this is a lot more fun. So we're going to keep doing this.
Yeah, okay, sure.
Phil, I want to ask you, because I know you had a great article on this. Do you think it's really possible that Luis Rojas was really surprised that known cheater Robinson Cano cheated again and got caught?
What a great guy in the clubhouse. What a great guy in the clubhouse again. And on the field, how many times we're going to miss his jogging into double plays. He was such a mentor to the young players. It's just all nonsense. It's all, and my big gripe isn't so much with that. It's that the media, which when I grew up, and, I don't want to be like condescending here, but you'd always depend on them or it to say, what a bunch of nonsense. Now it's like we're rubber stamping it. Compliance. That's what he said. That's what he means. How could he mean it? How could he mean that he's going to miss Robinson and Cano for all the great things he did? Just like Joe Torre did, just like stop.
Yeah, I think Alderson was probably doing a dance once he found out Cano was going to be out for the year.
They paid him a lot of money. Well, look at that whole dynamic. Only the Wilpons could create something like that, where the guy who signed, he and Cespedes, you named him, and we got rid of them both. Well, one guy got rid of himself, and Cespedes, who's just like, fell off a mule or something. The same guy who signed him was your agent. You can't make that stuff up. I don't want to sound self-aggrandizing, but I was writing this from the start. I said, how can this dynamic possibly exist, let alone persist? And sure enough, it all comes down to it didn't. It didn't. So where does Van Wagenen go? Back to CAA? I think he's going to represent Joe.
He's going to do TV.
If he wants to be our agent, that's fine by me.
I don't want to hear from him. That's the problem. For whom? Well, actually, he could work for ESPN, but he didn't knife anyone yet.
Right.
If you knife someone, man, he's got a shot. He's got a shot.
Maybe MLB Network. You know, they're always
Where are you, Joe? You in your house, and you're in your house?
Yes, sir.
Look at that microphone. You just keep those around in your house?
Well, I have the mic stand and the mic set up on my desk for easy access, so we can move it around.
Do you do other things? Do you do other things in radio or podcasting or anything?
Absolutely. I have notes ready to go, just in case they send me exciting things that I want to jot down.
I have notes too, but it doesn't mean anything because this is all I do. Not talk to you. I write a column.
Phil, we want to get to a lot of fun stuff here, but first we want to take you back to your days at Waynesburg College when you got your degree in English. Did you know you wanted to pursue a career in sports journalism, or what was your thought process there, majoring in English?
I was a terrible, terrible student. I mean, really bad in science, languages. What was the other one? Math. But I was pretty good in English and history. And history is still my great love in life. And I became an English major only because, it's funny, because when Vince McMahon sued me for libel, he said, well, you don't have a degree in journalism. I said, but they didn't offer a degree in journalism. But then when it was time for cross-examination, I said, well, how many magazines you have? He said, 4. I said, are they good? And he said, oh yeah, they're the best. I says, how many journalism majors are working on them? Yeah, I don't know. I said, oh, okay. All right. But I was always into sports, played a lot of sports. And I got a gig at the New York Post upon graduation as a copy boy. $80 a week, just, a gopher, running coffee, trying to ingratiate myself. And to a certain extent, I must have done that because I got a job in sports as another gopher for $85 a week instead of 80. And and then one day a fellow named Joe Marcus, who covered the New York Cosmos when they played in Yankee Stadium, he suddenly died. And Ike Gellis, very famous sports editor at the time, said, who knows anything about soccer? He was a real hard-bitten guy. He was like Edward G. Robinson, And I lied. I'm like, oh, me? Oh, please. I grew up. And he assigned the New York Cosmos. And that was the year they took off with Clay, Beckenbauer. You guys weren't even born then. Beckenbauer, Quinaglia, Carlos Alberto. They had the greatest international team on earth. They almost self-evidently, they needed about 4 soccer balls to play because nobody wanted to share it. But and we were an afternoon paper then, and I'd write it hard, and I'd write it funny, and I'd write it provocatively, and that's how I got started. Then I covered 1 year. I covered the Rangers, New York Rangers, and that was just a horrible year. That's the year I became me an Islanders fan because the Rangers was such a miserable group. That was the Phil Esposito years. Just bad guy. And then I covered the NBA Piscataway Nets. Again, you guys were gleaming near folks' eyes. Well, maybe in your case they weren't gleaming, but and then in around 82, this column kind of got started, and there was one other guy before myself who was doing it, but he was using the column to try to get a job in television. He was writing puff pieces about guys and then trying to like ingratiate themselves with a bunch of BS and trying to get a job. And that's exactly what happened. And he got the job. And it was like, oh, that was appalling to me. And I took over and I made it a column once a week, then twice a week, and 3 times a week. I made it a column to be read by readers, not the subjects of what I'm writing, not to ingratiate myself, but to be read by readers. And I have been at that since 1982.
Yes.
What more do you want?
Well, you start off as a basically doing the grunt work, which which a lot of people respect. And then I think what's great about you is, unlike some of your critic colleagues, I think you are first and foremost a sports writer, while some of them are not. They're just trying to get their names out there on social media now.
I'm not sure what you mean by that, but I think I'm very grateful for that, because I feel that that sports writing has lost its literature element. It's not to be. It's just a bunch of stats and rumors about trades and this and cliches. Oh my God! It's not about. I mean, the New York Post used to be a sports section used to be about writers, the greatest writers assembled, and we're still okay. We're still okay. I'm not gonna, but I just don't see people really taking care of it as a craft. I don't see people caring whether they're insulting the readership. In other words, writing that, what would you say before that? Rojas said to Cano, well, what a great guy. He wasn't a great guy. Everyone knew. Now, how can you write that? How can you write that with a straight face? How can you write that without puking on the page? So, but that's a good question, if that's what you meant. Otherwise, go to hell.
No, that's what I meant. That's definitely what I meant.
Oh, okay. So I would like to ask you a follow-up question, because I think you're 100% right. I think the storytelling aspect has certainly gone away. A lot of it is just very quick puff pieces, stuff that you could really read within a matter of 30 seconds, just 3 or 4 graphs. Yeah. A lot of it is everywhere. You see it for the major places. There are definitely a few places where I think you can get really good sports writing. This is the exact reason why a website like Grantland was started, and obviously that ended years ago and turned into The Ringer and Bill Simmons and what he does. The Athletic. I don't know if you read The Athletic. I don't know if you subscribe to The Athletic. I know somewhat. I do. Are there any places now that accomplish, in your mind, what you believe is the standard of sports in print and written word?
All right, let's go microcosmically on that, Joe. When a guy such as Roger Goodell on national radio says PSLs are very good investments, and that is demonstrably false, so much so that I feel I could indict him for false claims, and not a soul, not a bleeping soul other than myself goes near it, when they should be protecting the public from this. I mean, the Jets and Giants had 25-year waiting lists that were wiped out overnight by these PSLs, and that the media that covered these teams didn't say a blessed thing, just complied. That's the kind of stuff that drives me nuts. And being left out on an island by myself, I become like, oh, Mushnick, he complains about everything. Why aren't you complaining? Why aren't you screaming bloody murder on behalf of your constituents, who are sports fans? Those are your constituents. no, not a word. So those are the kinds of things that, it started again before when they removed the World Series as a day enterprise, even on weekends, that no good kid could see it. And yet a guy like Manfred stands up and says, our kids are our number one concern. I said, you are full of it. You're a liar. And I understand the ramifications of the word. You're a liar. It doesn't mean, kids don't mean anything to you. Money, and I understand that. TV money. You're not gonna have a weekend World Series game that on a Saturday or a Sunday afternoon, because you're gonna have to take less TV money. So don't tell me the kids are important, because you're a liar.
Yeah.
Are you done?
Yeah, I think you're speaking about money. The NFL is now they're going to have a huge rights deal coming up here with all the packages. Everybody's going to get every single thing. I'm a little surprised they're not trying to work in a Tuesday night and a Friday night package to just have football Thursday through Tuesday.
What you're suggesting, Nick, is that why don't they continue on this path of diminished returns? Why don't we saturate this sport to the point where you can live without it? Which is what the NBA has done, which is what Major League Baseball has done, which is what they're doing. I agree with you. But now the NFL is entering that approaching that slippery slope where we're going to sell games to streamers, Amazon, or there's another one, I forget the name of it.
Apple.
Advil?
Apple.
But
I'm sure they'll be able to sell the official.
I have that in the medicine cabinet. I know.
The official medicine of each team. They'll be able to sell that as well.
Coming too. But you're going to. It's so clearly a money grab. Consolidate. Make your game. First of all, cleanse your game. Get rid of all the junk that's around it, especially many of the people.
I wanted to ask, through your years of covering stuff at the Post and being a columnist, you must have worked with close people who have helped you along the way. Who are the most important people for your success, and getting away from this idea that people misconstrue what you say? Who are the best people that you had the opportunity to maybe interview with, to maybe work on stuff with, people who are in your corner, stand by your side, maybe even up until today?
That's a good one, Joe. Well, I've always leaned toward the self-effacing. As far as athletes, again, this is a guy you're probably unfamiliar with. His name was Rich Kelly. He was 7'2" out of Stanford. He played for the New Orleans Jazz, and he was traded to the Nets when I covered the Nets in about, 80, 79. And he was traded for Bernard King, because Bernard King had drug issues and alcohol issues. Rich Kelly had led the league in rebounding, which was something of a statistical aberration, because he was playing center for, what was the player's name from LSU?
Alcindor?
No.
He played at UCLA.
Come on. Played for the Celtics.
Bill Russell.
Atlanta Flames. Atlanta Flames. Atlanta Hawks. Oh my gosh. He's the greatest. I have books about him. Anyway, this guy was taking so many shots a game that Kelly could rebound for him. So anyway, he became a net. And after his first game at Piscataway, probably about 4,500 people there, not much. And he had a good game. He probably had about 12 rebounds and 13 points. And I think the Nets won. And I remember a guy named Mike, the late Mike Weber from the Star Ledger, and myself went up to Rich Kelly afterwards and said, and he was 7'2", he had this scraggly beard, he looked like a toothpick, and he just looked like a homeless guy. And we said, Rich, you played really well, and you got a nice ovation from the crowd. What'd you think of that? And he looked up and he said, they'll learn. Like, they'll find out I'm not that good. And I just thought that was brilliant. I just thought that, and from that day on, I became close with Rich Kelly, who also, at about 6 a.m. in Logan Field Airport in Boston, was approached by Hare Krishnas, and he had this long coat. He looked like a hippie. He was 7'2", and the Krishnas were asking him for money. And Richie waved him off and he said, nah, he says, I gave it another life. That was brilliant. But guys like, those are the people, I mean, in my life, there's so many, Joe, there were so many stand people. Like, there's a guy named Dominic Morano, who has retired from the Post, and he had very low self-confidence, and he worked in editorial as a lay guy. He had no idea how smart he was, no idea what perspective he provided. He's just a guy, you don't know him. You know, I can't tell you, well, Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein, I can't. But this guy did. And he just, forgive me, but one day we used to work downtown near Chinatown, and I was a copy boy. I was a grunt, and I had to go get Mrs. Chef, who owned the Post back then. I had to go get her Chinese food for lunch from this high-end place called Chez Mere. And I'm walking back to the Post, which was on South Street, and there's a dog. There are two dogs, and they're copulating. And Dominic is in his orange Volkswagen, and I barely knew him. And the dogs are copulating right in front of his car. And he sees me and he rolls down the window and he says, and I got to go back to work. I thought that was brilliant. And these are the people who you gain. I mean, Pete Hamill could, but I didn't spend that much time with those people. Monty Begley, there was a woman at the Madison Square Garden during the Bob Gutkowski days named Monty Begley, who was in charge of corporate things. She was just a hoot, because she didn't give a rat's tail what anyone thought. She was going to do what she thought was right. And many more times than not, she was right. And these are the kinds of, and to watch her, of course, she couldn't survive the Dolan purge. So she was gone, but I'm still close with her. She's just an amazing woman. Amazing woman. But Joe, I wish I could tell you, like, well, Tino Martinez, no, but it didn't happen. It just didn't happen. I'm not a hang-arounder. I'm a right. I kind of a.
No, that's fine. You're a regular guy.
Knucklehead. I'm a knucklehead.
Go to columns. That's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Who's influenced you? Some guy named Jimmy down the street, right?
That's right.
All right, so leave me alone. What now? We're at a Zoom time?
No, we are good to go. You're known to have many feuds over the years. Just want to know if you have any favorite feuds that you could remember.
Feud?
Feuds, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe they're one-sided
I've
when
had-
people are feuding
Maybe
you,
an evil
but
robbery with a
I've had
coworker
few-
or somebody.
I've had feuds with guys and a gal or two, and they've ended out of mutual respect or out of like, in my business or the way I conduct my business, if you write what you perceive to be the truth, in other words, my version of the truth, the person you're writing about may hate you, but in the end, when they want their truth to be heard, they're not going to go to the fanny kisser. They're going to come to me, and because you've got the guts to write it, you've got the guts to pursue it, you've got the guts to find the answer for me. Why? And that's very gratifying. And oftentimes, I've made. You don't want to make in my business. You don't want to be friends with anyone, but almost inevitably, you become friendly with people. You can't help it, and even friends. I admit these are the dictates of the human condition. I make friends, and this I could tell you a guy. He's such a jerk, and I kind of love him. Sid Rosenberg. He's a jerk. He knows he's a jerk. He's a professional jerk, and he knows he's a professional jerk. But we have and oh my God, he used to kill me. I used to kill him, and it wasn't a person. I can't think of anyone I've gone after in a personal sense. I really, I'm not trying to tell you I'm like, noblesse oblige, because I'm not. I pick my nose, and sometimes I don't recycle. And but Sid Rosenberg and I mean, I actually had an incredible. You know who I was close with at the start, but then I couldn't indulge him or suffer him. With Francesa. I was very close with him. I was the one who was pushing for him to get a full-time gig at FAN. But then he started to use me to plant stories about how cool he is and all these offers coming his way that weren't coming his way. And then he'd get on the, when somebody would ask him about it on the air, he'd say, oh, that's wrong. That's wrong. He'd say, I go, whoa. I call him, at least say no comment. Don't put my integrity at risk. Oh, yeah, you're right. Then he did it again. And I said, that's it, Mike. We're done. You're using me to boost yourself. And imagine that. I never knew that was in him, right? That's what he's about. So anyway,
you think he's gonna return to radio again, or you think he's this time? No.
I don't know. I don't care. If he does, he does.
And speaking of radio, what do you think about the endless sports gambling reads every few minutes on the air now?
What do you think? Come on.
That's where they're making. That's where the stations are making all their money. So,
Makes money, but it's oversaturated.
So, in other words, it's money over morality.
Yeah, and another thing there. Did you see the NHL is naming their divisions after their sponsors? You got the Discover division, Mass Mutual, Honda, Scotia.
That bothers me marginally, but it's not like it's the Snoop Dogg division.
Right. So what is your opinion in general on generic advertising in all throughout sports? Because we're seeing now advertisements on helmets in hockey. We're seing advertisements on jerseys in NBA.
I understand it.
I mean, you come from the newspaper industry, so you understand, or you understand how what
But I've never sold.
has
I've
done.
never sold my body to it. I've never sold my uniform. I don't have a uniform. I've never sold my column to it. Now, Joe, if somebody in advertising wants to say, "How would you like to buy the strip ad under Mushnick's column?" I don't want to know anything. I don't want to know anything about that. But it is, and even if it's for the strip ads for a strip joint, I don't want to know anything about it because that's. But I do understand the advertising thing, but now it's gone. You know, now that we've crossed over into, I mean, if you look, let's say you're watching a Major League Baseball game, and you look at the advertising in the outfield, you'll see one's for liquor, one's for erectile dysfunction pills, and another's for FanDuel. What happened to tires and refrigerators? I mean, what happened?
Right. It says something about the state of people in this country, doesn't it? The specific advertisements that you get.
Yes.
And then you get in sports games, you also get stuff regarding like credit repair, and you can go on and on and on. But I understand what you're saying. Think about the advertisements.
Joe, that's funny you should say that, because I need to know, is anyone else listening? Because I could let you in on the ground floor. I'm serious. Nick, butt out a second. For reverse mortgage. Would you like a reverse mortgage? No?
No. Do you know Tom Selleck?
Tom
close with
Tom
Tom
asked
Selleck.
me to ask you. Tom
Word.
asked me to ask you because you look so much alike.
That's right.
He said that.
Mr.
He
Baseball.
did. Tom, he just went out for a smoke.
Phil, I wanted to ask you, with the NFL, it seems like everybody has the same pregame shows these days. But an interesting thing was that Tony Romo, he's getting paid $19 million a year. He obviously he got a well-deserved break when Jim Nantz was doing the Masters, and he had to miss the game due to COVID. But I was surprised CBS decided to throw Boomer out there rather than Phil Simms. What does it say about Phil Simms? His standing must be pretty low.
I think that there's some real bad blood between Simms and Nance, and I think it has nothing to do with Boomer. But I've been very critical of Boomer. I thought Boomer did a good job on that game. However, we have to give him credit for tongue discipline, because he didn't act like a juvenile profanity speaker as he does on WFAN, which WFAN has, fellas, it's become such a vast, empty wasteland, and gambling is all part of it too. But there's no sense that the people doing the hiring. Well, none of these ESPN Radio New York, ESPN Radio National. There's no sense that any of these people who do the hiring know the difference between bad and much, much worse. They don't. There's no clever. There's no appeal. And especially with ESPN, everything is the sell of the sell of the sell of the sell of the sell. We're going to talk about the NBA today all day. Anyone care? No, but
right.
We sell the NBA.
Really? And ESPN, do you think they just completely ignore any sport they don't have broadcast rights to?
Right.
Correct. Like ice hockey?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And I'm a hockey fan. I've always been a hockey. Although I don't need Barry, if it's Barry Melrose, I don't need him telling me about hockey, because he's half a knucklehead. No, excuse me, he's 2/3 of a knucklehead.
Yeah, I always felt
like
in
Can I go
terms
home?
of the networks.
I'm home.
The networks, I don't think anymore do a good job of allocating proper time and resources and distribution when it comes to stuff. we have four major popular professional sports. I don't necessarily watch soccer, but I do have friends who watch soccer now, watch like the Premier League and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Is huge. It,
You're
it,
missing one sport then.
it feels like it's just this now 24/7. It's either the NFL or the NBA. It dominates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year.
Exactly.
And it's all a part of, I don't want to say there's this singular narrative, but it's evident that they have allowed the money, the extra money coming into their pocket, to entirely dictate everything that they're doing on
And
their
always will, Joe, and always will. The soccer, I became a big soccer fan on my first beat, which was the New York Cosmos in 1977. Not a big fan, but I'll watch an EPL. I'll watch a Premier League game on NBC Saturday, as opposed to, say, a Larry King infomercial. And that was funny, Joe. You're not listening, Joe.
Of course I am.
Oh, okay.
Still here.
I'll put the laugh track up. I'll put the laugh, and you have to laugh. All right.
Wait,
I don't know. The problem with soccer on American TV is you don't know. I mean, you're going to see the Bundesliga from Germany. You're going to see the Liga from Italy. You don't know when these games were played. You don't know how long ago. You don't know what's their. I'm starting to grind a little here. You don't know what their importance is or their significance, and that's too much. That's too much. But that's standard television neglect. I mean, how many times have you watched? Let's say you've come home late, and what are you, a hockey fan?
Yeah,
we're you a Rangers fan?
Yeah, we're sports fans in general. We follow up on all the New York sports.
All right, let's say you came home from a night out, and you never did hear about the Ranger game, and you turn on the Encore production, and you're watching it, and there at the bottom is the final score.
Right.
And you say, what the hell's the matter with these people? And it's just negligence. It's just a lack of basic quality control negligence. You would think that would be before that game starts. All right, fellas, who's ever in charge of the rebroadcast, don't put the score up along the bottom. You would think that was requisite, but it's not. It's not. I mean, you guys are too. When infancy cable on a Friday, Saturday nights, all these cable, like Cablevision, the Dolan systems, they would have time codes to shut the broadcasts off, shut the cable off. So I'll never forget, there was an incredible game. There was Doc Gooden against Fernando Valenzuela, 0-0 at LA to the 10th inning, and they're both in there. Bing! It shuts off because they put up a thing at 1 a.m., shut it off. And there was no one to call because weekends, who's there? Who's there? And it's just kind of, I would have had a guy on site. He couldn't leave until that game was over. Whatever happened to Nick?
He's there. He's listening.
Oh, okay.
He's very patient. I have another question for you.
Once Joe gets on a roll, I just got to let him go with it.
Yeah.
No, it's smart. He's smart. He's made a bigger fool of himself than you have, but I'm in the lead.
Yes, I have. I think you bring.
And I don't plan to surrender it.
Yeah, everybody wants everything instantaneously. There's a lot of attention to detail. I think it's sports that we're kind of losing sight of, which is really, really super important. I wanted to ask you, coming off that, who are people in the industry that you think get the right way? Who are people out there who do you think report the right way, who produce their programming the right way? Is there anybody that comes to mind, or is there any show
There are
that?
so few. There are so few. It's easy to answer.
Right.
As it relates to production of basketball, CBS has a producer / director named Bob Fishman, who's been doing the NCAA Final Four and all that for 1,000 years. He's also a what do you call that? A cancer survivor, but anyway, he was very sick, but he's still at it, and he intuitively, or it's not even intuitively, it's just common sense, knows that you don't get off the floor with 2 minutes left in a tie game and someone in a full court press to show the cheerleaders or to show the bench, because the game's on. The game's on. I mean, and you don't go after the guy scores with 30 seconds left to tie the game. You don't go to that, what they call a hero shot, which is the close-up of the guy who just scored. No, you stay wide to show the game. And a guy like Bob Fishman, I've always tried to prevail upon him to write a book about how to direct basketball, is one of the best. As it relates to dealing with your analyst, there's no one better than Marv Allen. No one.
Yes.
No one. He always makes his analysts better. If you're one of his analysts, I mean, look what he's done for Chris Webber. I mean, if you don't improve sitting next to Marv Albert, you got the problem. You got the problem. He just surrenders himself. He busts their chops. He brings out the best of them. He asks them questions. Why would there's no one? As it relates to TV play-by-play, I would say, and this goes against everything, Nick, that I've always preached about, concise versus, and he doesn't shut up. He doesn't shut up, but he's no value to any of us being quiet, and that's Mike Doc Emmerich on the NHL. He's just such a tremendous wordsmith, and I might add, tremendous human being. Just something very, very special. But I've actually, Nick, I've stuck with 6-2 games to hear Emmerich. I really have, and I would like to think that I'm discriminating. In fact, I'm so discriminating, I'll never come on the show again.
Listen, I think that's how you know someone's good, if they're going to stick there through a blowout to make sure. Now, a team that's been blown out a lot is the Jets. And you had a great column on Sam Donald. You said it's not really his fault. The Jets are probably going to move on from him. And I'm thinking in 3 years, they'll be moving on from his replacement, Justin Fields, and they'll be looking for a new coach. It's a never-ending cycle with the Jets.
You see, I don't know enough about these people. See, well, let me finish the first one. I don't know enough about these people to be able to sit in judgment of whether their careers should be ended. I don't have that knowledge. I don't have the gall. And I just don't have that acumen. And now I'll follow it up with the best guy in the NFL I ever met was Rich Kotite.
Joe, tell him who your middle school English teacher was.
His wife?
My high My
Elizabeth Kotite.
middle school English teacher was Kotite's wife. Yes.
Cindy. Is her name Cindy?
Elizabeth.
Oh my God. What was her name?
Pretty, right?
Cindy.
Very pretty.
I think it was Elizabeth. Yeah.
Liz.
Liz. Yes.
Right, Liz.
Liz
Attractive.
Kotite.
Where at Poly Prep?
Strict. She was the strictest teacher
IS-75.
I ever had, period. Number one. And you know where she got
spanking there.
A true story. I swear to God. He came into our school my last day of 8th grade my last day of 7th grade as we were preparing for the summer. He came in and let me tell you something.
Wait a second. Isn't this better than WFAN here in this 100%. Stuff? This is better than like promo code Evan.
Tell
him Joe B sent you.
Code so you can use it on DraftKings. Yeah.
Keep going. So she came in. He came in. Keep going. I don't mean to interrupt. That was
no. But he didn't really stay long, but he came in and he towered over her. And at the time, I mean, when you're young, then obviously I knew of Jet's history. You know, I didn't realize how big he was going to be in my life, and that goes back to me being smaller than I am now. I didn't know that much since then.
Oh, you're smaller than you were the 8th grade.
That's super nice. I told him you suck, but you went 115 with the Jets. But other than that, he was fine.
Let me tell you something. First of all, I had a major crush on Liz. But here's how we know Rich Kotite. Back then we called him Dick Kotite. He played at Wagner College. I grew up on Staten Island.
That's where we're from. We both live in Staten Island, Phil. How about that?
You're kidding me.
Yeah. My wife went to Wagner.
Only come up 49 minutes into the conversation.
Oh, okay.
Where are you from?
It's none of your business. I just told you Staten Island. Sunnyside, near Wagner College.
Yeah, Grimes Hill.
So I grew up at near Wagner College, and I'm up there as a ball boy every Saturday for the Wagner Seahawks football team, which went undefeated that year. I'm going to say I was 10 or 11 years old. I was the ball boy. I kept the tack charts. Dick Kotite, Richie Kotite is the star tight end. Oh boy, was he good. He was so good. Just a little square out from a quarterback named Danny Coughlin. And I just got really close with him. He treated me, he was a mensch. He treated me so well. I was just a kid. He gave me he gave me a jersey, and then they were undefeated. They were going to go to the Tangerine Bowl, which back, now defunct. And I told him I wanted to go. He came and spoke to my parents and said, if we get the bid, let your son go. I'll keep an eye on him. Wow.
Incredible.
Wow. Now, since then, we became close. When he was the Eagles head coach, we played a lot of golf together. He'd come back up to where I play golf in Jersey. And he's a good person. He never took credit for a win. He didn't have many wins, but the Eagles, he did great. He did great with the Eagles.
He had a lot of great success with the Eagles.
But
I think a lot of the Jet stuff was just very poor timing. I think ownership should have went.
You know what it was, Joe? It was loyalty. He was so loyal to a coaching staff that had outlived, like Zeke Britkowski, who recently died. And he was just so loyal to all these people because he was a good person. He was too good a person. He wasn't cutthroat enough. And I remember, he had a growth in his head. I remember I almost went with him when he was at the Chattanooga, University of Chattanooga, Memphis or Chattanooga, when Joe Morrison, do you remember Joe Morrison from the Giants? Famous halfback, number 40.
Unfortunately.
He was the head coach. Richie was assistant. Richie kept getting these eye blottos, and he had a brain tumor, and they sent him to the University of Cleveland Clinic, which is still one of the greatest. And he was fixed. All right. What are we doing for dinner?
I'm having roast beef in about 20 minutes or so.
Wow. You married?
Slow cooker. No. We live. Nick married. He got married.
Nick married? Nick, you got a kid?
Not yet.
Yeah, I got 2 daughters and 2 granddaughters.
Nothing better than that.
God bless.
Oh, okay. No, it is. I'm truly
and sound
blessed.
I hope you and your family have a happy new year. When Nick and I start working for the New York Post soon, we're going to have you on a lot more. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to beat WFAN in the ratings. I can promise you that. So what we do here is we always give our guests the last word. So we'll begin to wrap this up. Obviously, you gave us a lot, and you're more than welcome to share as much as you want, a little more with us. But the floor is all yours, Phil. Thank you again for coming on with us. You're more than welcome to come on with us anytime you want.
Well, thank you, fellas. I mean that. I appreciate it. But in closing, I would like to say that virtually everything I said to you guys tonight, I fabricated. Not one word was true. So thanks again.
You started by advancing your career with a lie, and then to bring everything full circle.
So he's not really from Staten Island then. What a letdown.
I am.
I thought he was real Staten Island.
Where'd you guys go to high school?
I went to Staten Island Tech.
I went to St. Joseph by the Sea.
Really?
My wife went to Wagner College, so I'm very familiar with the Seahawks.
I went to Wagner for grad school. Not long, because then I got hired by the Post.
Nice campus.
I went to Curtis.
Beautiful campus. And
then I went to a place that you've never heard of called Richmond Town Preparatory School, Richmond Town Prep, which was for bad kids. And I was one. I told you I was a bad kid.
Phil, do you miss the Staten
Huh?
Island pizza? Yes, you told us you're a bad kid.
Oh, well, Richie Ippolito is married to the Joe and Pat's family. Joe and Pat's the best.
Okay.
And
Nick's
go to the
never been
Roadhouse.
The Roadhouse.
Roadhouse?
Yeah, right by Wagner College.
Yeah, you get a clam pie, but you go to Dino's in Port Richmond.
Yep.
And
Yep.
yeah, okay, Nunzio's.
Nunzio's is great. Brothers in Port Richmond, also good.
Yeah. Hey, we've just absolutely killed your audience. If they're not from Staten Island, they don't give a rat's tail about this conversation.
Who doesn't love
They'll never come back. What's that back there? Baseball cards?
Yes, I have a showcase of old baseball cards.
Yeah, well, as soon as you get married, those are going.
Yes, that is for certain. That is for certain.
Yeah, I used to have this stuff too. You don't see my stuff? Just books and stuff.
Love that.
All right, fellas.
Well, we appreciate it, and that's going to do it.
You know what? I'm busting chops, but I really enjoyed this.
We appreciate it too.
Not as much as you two. Not as much as you two, but I enjoyed it.
Thank you very much, Phil. So that's going to do it here for our special guest, Phil Mushnick, and for Joe Calabrese, I'm Nick Durst, and this has been You Know I'm Right.